Nothing cut quite as deep as watching her get ready that night. There she was, slipping into lingerie and stockings like it was some kind of ritual. She took her time with the makeup, every stroke deliberate, and styled her hair like she was heading to a photo shoot. Then came the dress, one I'd never seen before, and heels that screamed intention. She wasn't doing that for me. It hit me like a punch to the gut. Jealousy, anger, betrayal, all rolled into one ugly wave. She was getting dolled up for Devin Adams, her boss, not her husband. I've been breaking my back to build a good life for us, making sure the bills were paid and our home was solid. Meanwhile, she was busy turning herself into a fantasy for another man. It just didn't add up. Our marriage, up until recently, had felt rock solid. Rachel used to be all in, sweet, thoughtful, never gave me a reason to question her. 20 years side by side, and I would have sworn she had my back. That illusion shattered about a month ago at her company's dinner party. Devin, this slick, overconfident managing partner, barely took his eyes off Rachel all night. And when he spun her around the dance floor, flashing me this smug little grin over her shoulder, my stomach knotted. Something wasn't right. I brought it up the next morning. Rachel got defensive fast, like I was being dramatic. The way she dismissed it just threw gasoline on my suspicions. Suddenly, all those late nights at the office and canceled lunch plans took on a different meaning. The more I replayed things in my head, the more furious I got. Rachel was Devin's personal assistant. He had money, power, and the ego to match. Always flashing some overpriced watch, pulling up in a different sports car every week, and flaunting that new arm candy. His second wife, some Instagram model barely 30. His first wife? Gone after 2 decades, traded in like a used car. Nora, the new one, looked like she'd stepped out of a magazine. Devin was the kind of guy who enjoyed making others feel small just to inflate himself. I hadn't forgotten that charity event where he humiliated me in front of everyone. So, Jerry, how's the bolt and screw business? Must be nice punching in at Home Depot every morning, he sneered, drink in hand. Rachel? She laughed. That one stung. Sure, my job wasn't flashy, but I made good money, over 200 grand a year. I paid for our daughter's tuition, kept us in a beautiful home, and made sure we never wanted for anything. But in Devin's world, I was a nobody. I walked off boiling. Rachel trailed behind, asking what crawled up my back. I told her. She rolled her eyes. Oh, come on, babe. He's just messing around. Devin likes to joke. Don't be so uptight. Come back and chill, he's actually a good guy. I stayed against my instincts. Looking back, I should have trusted my gut. There were signs. Plenty. Devin had it all. Cash, clout, and a wife young enough to call him sir with a straight face. But guys like him, they're never satisfied. Always hunting for the next thrill, the next conquest. And deep down, I knew Rachel was his next target. There was no way I was going to just sit back and hope I was wrong. So within a week, I went from suspicious husband to full-blown surveillance operator. I ordered 6 audio recorders and 5 high-res video cameras. One of them got tucked right into the smoke detector in our bedroom, completely hidden. The rest were placed strategically, catching every possible angle. I didn't stop there. The bathroom, living room, hallway covered. Every feed streamed live to a hidden computer rig I'd stashed in the attic. I could control it all straight from my phone. On top of that, I slipped tiny audio bugs into her favorite purses, planted one in her car, and stuck another near the kitchen phone. By the time I was done, I could track 90% of what went on in that house without lifting a finger. As I packed for a quick 2-night work trip, that heavy feeling in my chest wouldn't leave. Rachel, acting sweet as ever, clung to me like she always did before I traveled. She wrapped herself around me, whispered how much she loved me, how much she needed me. Usually those moments were everything to me, comforting, grounding. But this time something felt off. I love you so much, she murmured, her voice soft, eyes glistening like she actually meant it. Being with you like this, it means the world. I kissed her forehead. I love you too, sweetheart. You're something special. Always have been. That night felt almost too perfect. The connection between us was so real, so deep. I almost believed I'd imagined everything. For a moment, I even thought about dismantling the cameras, trashing the bugs. But thank God I didn't. I left everything rolling, gave her space, and hit the road. It was just enough time to see if there was something to uncover. We kissed goodbye, and by 6 o'clock sharp, I was halfway through the 3-hour drive to my hotel. As I drove, my mind kept spinning, replaying the last 6 months like a broken record. Aside from 2 awkward run-ins with her boss, his smug little grin, and that cheap shot of my career, nothing really stood out. I actually chuckled to myself at one point, wondering if I was just losing it. Once I checked in, I flopped onto the hotel bed, opened my laptop, and started sorting through emails. After clearing my inbox, I clicked into the live feed, more out of curiosity than anything. I didn't expect to see much. Mostly, I just wanted to make sure the tech was working. I fast-forwarded through the last few hours. Then I saw her, Rachel, appearing in our bedroom. I slowed the playback and watched her settle on the bed, phone in hand. At first, I smiled. She looked beautiful. Then I heard her voice. "Hey, baby, he's gone. I've got the house to myself," she said, giggling like a schoolgirl. "Yeah, 2 whole nights. When can you come over? Won't your wife notice?" She paused, biting her lip. "Oh my God, this is perfect. Will you stay the night? I want to wake up next to you." "Of course I'm yours. What time?" "Okay. I love you, baby." Everything in me just stopped. An hour earlier, she was wrapped around me, whispering how much she loved me, tears in her eyes. Now she was inviting another man into my home. Our bed. Who was this woman? How could she make love to me with such passion, only to turn around and betray me like it meant nothing? Was he actually coming? Part of me still hoped I misunderstood. But that tiny flicker of hope died when the doorbell rang. She opened the door like she'd been waiting all her life. And there he was, Devin Adams, standing there with that Trey Devin smug grin like he owned the place. The camera caught it all as he stepped in and pulled her into a kiss that made my blood run cold. I barely made it to the bathroom before I threw up. "Wow, baby," he said, running his eyes up and down her body like she was a prize. "You look incredible. Can't wait to get that dress off and keep you all night." Those words lit a fire in me. But what really tore me up was the way Rachel smiled at him like it was the most natural thing in the world, then took his hand and led him straight to our bedroom. I sat there in silence, stunned, watching her undress him like she'd done it 100 times. Devin had one of those cover model physiques, toned, sharp, the kind women fawn over. I hated admitting it, but he looked good, and that only made it worse. My stomach turned again, and for a second time, I found myself doubled over the hotel toilet. I should have turned it off. I should have walked away, but I didn't. Instead, I sat there and watched the whole thing. Every sound, every whispered lie, every act of betrayal, while my heart cracked wide open. Then came the part that hurt more than anything, their conversation after everything. Lying there tangled up in each other, it was Devin who spoke first. "So, he's really gone for 2 nights?" Rachel let out a satisfied sigh, completely at ease. "Yeah, you got me all to yourself, baby. I've wanted this, waking up next to you for so long." Devin leaned in closer. "I love being with you, Rachel." She smiled, that warm, practiced smile I used to think was just for me. "And I love being with you, Devin." He let out a soft laugh. "I can't wait to have you over and over again, while your husband's off busting his tail for a paycheck." What a clown. Rachel gave him a playful nudge like it was all some harmless joke. "Be nice," she said, laughing. "He's a good man. I do love him." Devin didn't skip a beat. "Then why are you here?" There was a pause. Rachel didn't answer right away. "Because," she finally said, her voice quieter, "you're the most attractive man I've ever met. And the way I feel when I'm with you, it's like nothing else. But we both have marriages to protect." Devin nodded, his tone suddenly serious. "This makes sense to me. You show me more love, more passion than my wife ever has, or any woman, really." And then he said it. "This isn't just about passion for me. I love how you make me feel, Rachel." That line? That one broke something in me. That love, the way he spoke about it, it was supposed to be mine, ours, but it wasn't anymore. Not really. I kept watching. Couldn't stop. They kissed again, whispered more sweet nothings, wrapped themselves in each other like the world outside didn't matter. And then Devin asked the question that finished me off. "Does he satisfy you the way I do?" Rachel hesitated for just a second. Then she said it. He's a great lover, he really is. But no, not like you. You do things to me I can't even explain. That was the final blow. I sat there in silence, my heart pounding in my ears, eyes locked on the screen. My fingers found a laptop, and I slammed it shut like that would somehow erase what I just heard. But the damage was done. I lay there for hours, wide awake, gripped by a storm of rage, sorrow, and pure disbelief. One thing had become painfully clear. This wasn't going to end quietly. And I wasn't about to be the only one left bleeding. When I got home, everything looked normal. Almost too normal. There was love in the air, warmth in her voice, the comfort of routine, like none of it had ever happened. Rachel greeted me like the perfect wife. Smiles, kisses, arms wrapped around my neck. She looked me in the eye like she had nothing to hide. But I knew, for her, nothing had changed. She was still playing the same role. But for me, everything was different. Her touch felt foreign. Her kiss made my stomach twist. Still, I didn't let it show. I kept my game face on, played the part like a pro. Behind the scenes, I backed up all the recordings, stored them across multiple cloud drives, and locked every file behind encryption. For the next 2 weeks, I kept her busy. I took over her schedule, made sure her days were packed from morning to night. No room for secret lunches. No chance for late-night rendezvous. I smothered her with togetherness until it drove her crazy. And it worked. Her frustration started showing in little ways, snapping more often, distracted during dinner, scrolling her phone a little too long. Then came the moment I've been waiting for. One morning, while she was driving to work, I caught another call through the car mic. "When's he going out of town again?" a man's voice asked. "I don't know," Rachel replied. "But I'll find out. It needs to be soon, babe." That was all I needed to hear. Every doubt I had gone. It was real. And now, it was time to test just how far they'd take it. That same evening, we were curled up on the couch watching a movie, her head on my shoulder like old times. Out of nowhere, she asked, real casual, "Baby, when's your next work trip?" My blood turned to fire, but I kept it cool. I smiled and teased her. "Why? Trying to get rid of me? You don't have a secret visitor who swings by while I'm gone, do you?" She didn't even blink. "Don't be silly," she said, resting her hand on my chest. "I love having you home." I gave her the answer she was hoping for. "Sorry, sweetheart, but duty calls. I've got an overnight meeting next Tuesday. I'll be back sometime Wednesday." She let out this dramatic sigh, like she was genuinely disappointed. "I hate it when you're gone. I miss you so much when you travel." Then she climbed into my lap, wrapped her arms around me, and kissed me like nothing was wrong, like she hadn't betrayed me in the worst possible way. She poured herself into that kiss. Fake passion, empty affection, the same act she gave to another man. Tuesday came. I packed my overnight bag, gave Rachel a kiss, and we shared what would be our last night together, our final time being intimate. She kissed me just like she always had, full of warmth and softness, like nothing had changed. But I wondered, could she see the sadness in my eyes? Just for a second, her face shifted, like something clicked, but she didn't say a word. She just smiled, gave me another kiss, and waved goodbye. Only I never actually left town. Instead of hitting the highway, I drove straight to my office, parked in my usual spot, and headed inside. It wasn't out of the ordinary for me to work late, so nobody questioned why I was still there. I sat at my desk, silent, staring at the clock, waiting for the moment I knew would come. Right at 7:30 p.m., my surveillance alert pinged. He'd arrived. Devin walked into my home like he owned it. Confident, relaxed. He wrapped his arms around my wife, and kissed her like she belonged to him. Showtime. I closed the video feed, disabled GPS, and tossed my phone in the drawer. No digital trail. Then I made my move. Out in the parking garage, I popped the trunk and pulled out a collapsible electric bike I'd kept for exactly this moment. Quiet, fast, and untraceable. Hood up, head down, I took off under the cover of darkness. In less than 20 minutes, I was behind my house. Just like I'd planned, the sliding door was unlocked. I stepped inside slowly, my heartbeat thudding in my ears, every sense on high alert. Upstairs, I heard them. I crept through the house, opened the hallway closet, and grabbed the aluminum bat I'd hidden weeks earlier. Then, from its stash behind the bedroom wall panel, I pulled out the short-barreled rifle. Just in case. Bat in hand, I moved down the hall. The lights were low, candles flickering in our room, casting soft shadows on walls. They didn't hear me, too caught up in each other to even notice the creak of the floorboards beneath my feet. Rachel was facing away from the door, unaware. Devin, too wrapped up in his own ego to sense danger. He never saw it coming. The bat hit with a solid, sickening crack. Devin buckled and hit the floor, groaning, dazed. I reached over, flipped the light on, and stood there, calm, collected, watching the chaos unfold. Rachel gasped, her face pale, eyes wide with shock. She scrambled back into the sheets, frozen like a deer in headlights. "Oh my God. No, this can't be happening," she stammered. "Why are you here? You were supposed to be gone." I locked eyes with her, my voice cold, flat. "That's the real question, isn't it? Why is another man in my bed?" Devin let out a groan, still cradling his head. He tried to sit up, confusion written all over his face as the reality set in. "Jesus, that hurts," he muttered. "What the hell is wrong with you?" "What's wrong with me?" I barked. "You sneak into my house. You sleep with my wife. And you ask me what's wrong?" He looked toward the rifle resting nearby. His eyes darted back to mine. "What are you going to do?" he asked, voice shaking just a bit. I smirked. "What's the matter, hotshot? You scared now?" Rachel was still frozen, trying to wrap her head around what was happening. Devin, though, he was fully awake now, his body tense, calculating. "I know everything," I said, steady and sharp. "The phone calls, the secret meetups, the lies. And tonight? Tonight's just the cherry on top." Devin's breathing grew shallow. "Look, man, if you do something stupid, you're going to prison." I laughed, quiet and bitter. "If I go down, you're both coming with me." How's that sound? The look in his eyes? Priceless. Panic. Real fear. Rachel finally broke, sobbing into the sheets, her hands trembling. "Please don't do this," she cried. "Why not?" I snapped. "You didn't think about the fallout when you were sneaking around behind my back." Truth was, I had no plan to hurt them. But they didn't need to know that. Watching them squirm? That was enough for now. Rachel clutched the blanket tighter, trying to hide what little dignity she had left. She was shaking, eyes locked on the weapon. "Please," she begged, "don't do anything reckless. I love you. I swear, I do. Just put that down. Let's talk." I raised a rifle ever so slightly, not aiming it, just making sure they understood who held the power now. "Save it," I said coldly. This is what you wanted. A little excitement outside our marriage, right? Well, now you've got it." The fear on both their faces was thick, tangible. And in that moment, they both knew they were in deep, and there was no easy way out. They could see it, the fire in my eyes. And they both knew the only way out was to keep me calm. What they didn't know was that I never planned to take a life. That wasn't the point. The rifle I brought? It was loaded with custom rounds, 25% salt, 75% capsicum oleoresin. Same stuff they use in military-grade pepper spray. It wouldn't kill anyone, but hit the right spot and you'd never forget it. I wasn't aiming for jail time. I was aiming for a lesson they'd feel every time they blinked. Devin, finally shaking off the hit to the head, tried to get bold. Thought maybe he could overpower me. I saw it coming the moment he twitched. As soon as he lunged, I pulled the trigger. The shot echoed through the room, but his scream? That pierced through the walls. He hit the floor hard, writhing, clutching at his face like it was on fire, because, in a way, it was. His eyes, his mouth, his skin, everything burned. It was pure agony. He couldn't breathe, couldn't see, just thrashed and gasped in total panic. After a few minutes, once he dropped into a heap of pain and whimpering, I stepped forward and tapped his leg with my boot. Time for the terms. I turned my focus to Rachel, her face a mask of shock and horror. "Listen closely, both of you," I said, cool and calm. "Here's how this goes. In a few minutes, I'm leaving. You're going to drag this idiot to the hospital before he bleeds out or passes out. No 911. No paramedics. You're driving him yourselves. When the nurses ask what happened, you'll say you don't know. Make something up, doesn't matter what. But my name? It doesn't get mentioned. Ever." They were silent. I wasn't finished. "If either of you so much as thinks about pointing fingers at me, every shred of evidence I've got. Every photo, every video, every call recording goes straight to his wife and to the partners at his firm. I've already built a website. 2 hours of your little romance, ready to go live with one click. My name stays clean. That's non-negotiable. I turned to Devin, still curled up in pain. And you? I said, you're not firing Rachel. She's going to need that paycheck once this divorce is finalized. If either of you comes after me, legally or otherwise, or if she decides to fight the terms I give her, it all goes public. You understand? They both just nodded. Rachel's face was pale and streaked with tears. Devin could barely breathe, let alone talk. Perfect. Good. I turned and walked out the same way I came in, locking the door behind me. The rifle and bat went into a black duffel I slung over my shoulder. I didn't look back. Once I reached the river trail, I ditched the gear, bat in one section, rifle in another. Gloves too. No fingerprints, no evidence, no trace. By the time I returned to the office, I repacked the electric bike into the trunk, brushed off my jacket, and walked in like nothing had happened. I even waved goodnight to a few ID folks still working late. My car never left the lot. No one had a clue. Devin ended up in surgery that night. They had to shave part of his head to stitch up a deep gash, and the doctor said he had a concussion. His official statement? He remembered walking Rachel home with some paperwork and waking up in the hospital. Said he never saw anyone, never knew what hit him. He knew better than to tell the truth. He knew what he'd lose if he did. Rachel stuck to the same line. Claimed she heard a loud noise, found Devin on the floor, and rushed him to the hospital because waiting for an ambulance felt too risky. No mention of me. Neither could explain why he was half naked, but they kept to the script. Didn't matter. Devin's wife wasn't buying any of it. And pretty soon, his problems are going to be a whole lot bigger than me. By the next afternoon, I had every camera pulled, every microphone dismantled. I uploaded the footage to a secured, encrypted cloud drive and destroyed the devices. If they tried to erase the truth, they wouldn't be able to touch it. At 6 p.m., Rachel walked through the front door, looking like she'd aged a decade in one day. She looked drained, completely hollowed out. For a moment, just a moment, I felt bad for her. Then she opened her mouth. Jerry, I know what you saw looked awful, she began, her voice shaky. But you need to believe me, I wasn't in love with him. Her eyes searched mine, desperate. I know how it sounded. I know what I said must have cut deep. But those words, they weren't real. She took a step closer. After being close with someone, I say things. It's just how I am. But those words? They were always meant for you. Tears streamed down her face. I hated being alone when you were gone. Devin was just there. It never meant anything. It wasn't about love. It was about not feeling alone. Please, Jerry, she whispered. You have to believe me. I stared at her, trying to find the woman I once loved. But all I saw was someone who'd made her choices, now scrambling to explain them away. Rachel, I said, steady and cold, I've heard everything, every word. And you can say those sweet things were meant for me, but I know better. They weren't. This marriage, these 20 years, they're gone now. Torn to pieces because of your decisions, because of him. I leaned back, eyes locked on hers. We both get to live with what you did. So congratulations. You've given me something I'll never forget. My voice was soaked in sarcasm. She broke down again. What do we do now? She asked through the tears. I didn't hesitate. There is no more we. Rachel, you and I, we're done. I'll never understand why you did it. And that's something I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. Forgiveness? That's not even on the table. But I'll keep my promise. I won't expose your affair to the world. Rachel, your parents, they'll never hear it from me. What they think of you, that's your burden to carry now. Say whatever you want about the divorce, but don't you dare paint me as the villain. Because if you do, if you twist this to make me the bad guy, I'll burn everything down. I'll make sure everyone knows exactly who you are and what you did. The house is going on the DeviNet. You're the one who destroyed this life, so you're the one who's leaving it behind. I'm not asking. I'm telling you. You'll let me know where to send the divorce papers, and when they arrive, you'll sign them. No drama. No fight. Because if you drag this out, or if your boyfriend gets involved, I swear, neither of you will walk away unscathed. She broke down again, buried her face in her hands, sobbing. He's not my boyfriend, she cried. I don't love him. Please, isn't there some way to fix this? I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But I can't live without you. I'll do anything. Please, just don't leave me. I shook my head. Rachel, if this had just been a fling, something physical, maybe we could have tried therapy. Maybe we could have taken some time apart and figured things out. But it wasn't just that. You gave him something you promised would only ever be mine. You told him you loved him. You shared something with him that made everything between us feel fake. Those words, they killed everything. No, Rachel, I'll never forgive you. I'll never move past this. And once those papers are signed, you'll be nothing more than a memory. She begged for hours, but by morning, she was gone. She moved back in with her parents while I began the process of selling the house. A few days later, the police came knocking, trying to tie me to what happened with Devin. I was ready. I'd already hired a lawyer. And together, we shut it down cold. Unless you have actual evidence, my attorney told them, my client has nothing to say. They had nothing. No proof. No trail. Just a story they couldn't back up. With no charges and a rock-solid alibi, they closed the case as a burglary gone bad. That didn't stop Rachel's family from blowing up my phone. They called nonstop, left messages, some begging, some angry. She loves you, they said. She's sorry. You have to talk to her. Please just try counseling. I ignored every single one. When they showed up at my front door, I didn't answer. Eventually, I changed my number. And just like that, I was done with all of them. The pain? It didn't vanish. It stuck to me like a shadow. Being without her after 20 years, it gutted me. But no matter how lonely the nights were, no matter how much I missed the good times, the memory of what she did, what she gave away, was something I couldn't forgive. And Rachel? Her life fell apart. At 42, she found herself alone in a cramped one-bedroom apartment, scraping by on a single paycheck. The life she once had, the comfort, the safety, the love, it was gone. Worse, the truth eventually came out. Lily figured it out. Her parents did too. And the moment they connected the dots, their support turned into anger, their pride into shame. Rachel had destroyed her own family. Her daughter couldn't look at her the same way. Her parents stopped defending her. She had no one left. And Devin? He never planned to stick around. At work, he distanced himself quickly. Wouldn't even look her in the eye unless he had to. The pressure from the fallout only made him bitter, and soon enough, he kicked her out of his department completely. She kept the same salary, but was dumped into a dead-end admin role. No respect, no upward path. People whispered. Rumors flew. To them, she was just another affair gone wrong. Just another name on Devin's long list. The prestige she once carried was gone. And with it, her confidence, her self-worth. She spiraled. Rachel cried herself to sleep most nights. Stopped eating. Drank too much. Dropped weight fast. Lily tried to help. Tried to be there. But Rachel couldn't bounce back. She was too far gone. What's the point, she'd say. Without Jerry, nothing matters. Eventually, Lily reached out to me. She asked what she should do, how to help her mother. I told her I was sorry she had to go through this. But I made it clear. I would never speak to Rachel again. And I would never forgive her. As for Devin, his money couldn't save him from the disaster he created. Nora, his wife, didn't leave, but she made sure he paid for every second of his betrayal. She moved him into a guest room, took control of everything, his schedule, his finances, his peace of mind. Then, just to twist the knife, she started openly dating younger guys, right in front of him. She smiled for the cameras, played the loving wife at public events. But behind closed doors, she made his life a living nightmare. Devin lost everything that actually mattered. And as for revenge, he wanted it. I could see it in his eyes. But there was nothing he could do, because in the end, I had already won. That year, something happened that nearly ended my life. I was out for drinks with some coworkers, just trying to unwind, when a group of men jumped me in the alley behind the bar. No warning, just fists, boots, rage. They didn't hold back. Blow after blow, I felt my ribs crack, my vision blur. It didn't stop until my colleagues ran out and scared them off. By the time the cops arrived, the attackers were gone, vanished into the night like ghosts. I woke up in the hospital with fractured ribs, a concussion, and 20 stitches across my side. And lying there, bruised and broken, I knew exactly who was behind it. Devin had finally made his move. I wasn't surprised. Deep down, I'd been waiting for this moment. I just didn't expect it to be so direct. 6 weeks later, once I was healed enough to stand without wincing, I picked up the phone and made a call. "Mr. Adams, please," I told the receptionist. "I'm sorry, he's in a meeting. Can I take a message?" "Yeah. Tell him to meet me at the French deli across the street. Friday, 1 o'clock. Alone. Just say Jerry said so. He'll understand." I was already seated when he walked in, eyes scanning the room. He spotted me, and I saw it. His whole face changed. He hesitated, jaw tight, but he walked over. "Sit," I said. He pulled out the chair, not taking his eyes off me. "What do you want?" he asked, practically spitting the words. I leaned in, calm and collected. "Glad you came. Your guys did a solid job on me. Shame they didn't finish." He clenched his jaw. "I warned you not to retaliate, Devin. But here we are. And now I got to respond." I slid a folded piece of paper across the table. He looked down, confused. "That's the URL to a little website I built," I said. "Don't waste your time trying to kill it. It's hosted offshore, backed up on 3 separate servers. It's not going anywhere." He opened it. "Read the address." Frowned. "When you get back to the office, take a look. You'll find 2 hours of footage starring you." "Don't worry," I blurred Rachel's face. "She's already lost everything because of you. This is about your sins, not hers." His fist curled. "You've already wrecked my life," he hissed. "I'll never be the same. Just stop this before you push me too far." "That's why we're here," I replied, keeping my voice level. "To end this. You took my wife. You shattered 20 years of marriage. And even after I walked away, you still came for me. Now it's my turn." He leaned forward, tense. "What do you want?" "2 things," I said. "Non-negotiable. First, you stop. No more attacks, no more threats, no more games. Against me, Rachel, or anyone I care about. It ends now." He nodded stiffly. "Second, you're going to wire $1 million to this account," I said, sliding a second slip across the table. "You've got until Friday, 9 p.m. Call it restitution, or a settlement, or hush money. I don't care. But you and I both know I could take 10 times that if I drag you into court." He exhaled, sharp and bitter. "And if I agree, how do I know you won't post a video anyway?" I met his gaze. "You don't. You'll have to trust me. But here's what I can promise you. If you don't pay, that site goes live. By Saturday morning, your firm, your wife, your kids, every client you've ever smiled at, they'll all have front row seats to your greatest shame. You into my happiness, Devin. So if you refuse, I'll make sure you never find yours again." He said nothing, but the look in his eyes told me everything. The deal was made. The money hit my account. The house was sold. Assets divided. Rachel ended up with enough to live comfortably, as long as she kept working or found someone new. She held on to her job, part of my deal with Devin, but their dynamic had changed completely. He never looked at her the same way again. Rachel never remarried, barely dated. Regret clung to her like a shadow that never let up. She had lost a man she once thought would love her forever, and she knew it was her fault. As the years passed, the weight of it took its toll. She became withdrawn, isolated, just faded. The woman I had loved? She disappeared. By the time she reached 50, her health had deteriorated. The light in her had long gone out. The day she died, it was Lily, just Lily, who scattered her ashes. As for me, I kept working for a few more years, then moved to a quiet little town near the ocean. Peaceful, clean, far from the noise. I remarried, a kind woman, someone who made me laugh again. We connected in ways that brought me back to life. She was good to me, loving, honest, and I cherished her. But I never felt that once-in-a-lifetime love again. Rachel had been that, and she destroyed it. Lily and I stayed close. We spoke nearly every day. She was the only thread to my past I chose to keep. She rarely mentioned her mother. She understood. Some wounds never close, no matter how much time passes. When I heard Rachel had passed, I felt a strange mix of sadness and relief. Her death closed a chapter that had haunted me for too long. And while I mourned the woman she used to be, I finally felt free.